Hey everyone, welcome back to the Dad to Dads podcast. And being a divorced parent, I can attest that it isn't always easy and it definitely presents its own challenges. And if you're like me, there's probably times you also wonder what it's like for your kids. So I thought I would ask an expert and bring back a former guest, Bella Duncan from A Kid with Two Homes. Bella, welcome back and great to see you.
So good to be back, Robert. Thanks so much for having me back, and this time with my dad.
I know, I was about to say we also have a special guest. Would you like to introduce that special guest?
Yes, I'd like to introduce everybody to my dad, Craig Duncan. It's so exciting to actually have him on this podcast with me and talking about some really important stuff.
Craig, welcome.
Thanks so much, Robert, and thanks for that nice introduction, but it's really nice to be here. It was great to listen to the last podcast that you did with Bella. I think it was really great, and the comments were wonderful as well. So yeah, I'm very fortunate to be here today.
Well, Bella's a jewel, and you have raised a jewel. You definitely have. And you had a big, we were talking about it before we started recording. You did have a big part of that. And I've got a few questions for you guys. I thought this would be a pretty good episode for parents and just to hear both perspectives, as we go through this and what it's like for the kids, what it's like for the parents. But Craig, last time Bella was on, she made several comments that really touched a lot of dads. I received a lot of DMs. I received definitely a lot of comments, all positive, all, it was everything from this. I hope my kid speaks about me one day like this. I aspire to have my child speak about me like this. Some of her comments were, you are the person that she looks up to. Another was being the person that she is today because of you. A lot of the way she is, it's because of you. And also realizing what you went through in her childhood. And just when you hear that and you hear that from her heart and you see her speak those, how does that make you feel?
Well, when I saw that clip and I listened to it, it honestly, it just made me feel, my life, if my life ended tomorrow, I'd end it with a smile on my face. Because, ultimately, that's just what you want to do, isn't it? You want to do the best by your children. And if they can speak like that, and Bella's very, very forthcoming with her praise and that, and it was just lovely. So when I saw that, it just brought tears to my eyes, and I just felt like that. I felt like if life ended tomorrow, I'm okay.
You know what? I will say this: it did mine too, and I'm not our dad, but just. I'm one of those that, gosh, if my two sons speak about me one day, even half this good, I would have felt like my parenting was a success. And so I know that had to really touch you when you heard that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, so I want to go ahead.
I was just saying, and I haven't been perfect at all. And there's times that I suppose we'll chat about where it was really difficult, and I wish I could have done better. But to get through on the other side and to hear that, it does make you feel very good.
But you know what, Bella, sorry to leave you out for a minute, but Bella even addressed that. She even said that he hasn't been perfect, but he's been transparent, and nobody's perfect. And I think that's the big thing with the kids too, right? Is being transparent and letting them know, hey, I screwed up. I'm not perfect, but you learn from it and you make changes, and you do, I think a lot of it is admitting that. And it's what we're teaching them too, right? So, because believe it or not, Bella, you're going to screw up at times. Probably not as much as as parents, but I wanted to go into, one of the questions I had for you guys was when the children are transitioning between houses, like Bella, when you were going from your mom's to your dad or your dad's to your mom, and Craig, when the kids were leaving and going to their moms, what were the feelings? And Bella, you first, what kind of feelings were there any feelings that got brought up? What were the difficulties too?
Yeah, so I refer to this transitioning period, but specifically pick-up drop-off. Because whilst it's a big topic in itself, going from one home to the other, I think a very specific moment for kids of divorce is the actual pick up and drop off moment. where both parents have to come together to almost exchange the kids. And there's very distinct moments in my life that I remember based off where our pickup drop-off spot was. So for quite a significant amount of time, our pickup drop-off spot was a particular park up the road from Mom's place, from our home at Mom's. And that is where I have a lot of that memory of what it felt like to transition from mums to dads or dads to mums. And I think for a kid of divorce, and I've spoken about this before, it's quite a, an exciting time because you get to see your other parent. It's also a sad time because you're leaving the other parent, and then you've got all the emotions of what you're feeling coming from both parents. Dad might be really excited that you're going there, but mom might be quite sad that she's, having to give her kids away for the next couple of days. So then you've got this mix of feelings as a kid of divorce of excitement, but anxiety, and is there going to be potential conflict at this pickup drop-off spot? It just depends where you feel as though your parents' co-parenting relationship is at the time. Something quite tense coming up, so you're a bit worried that they might have a little bit of a bicker while you're there. Otherwise, you might feel easygoing that it might be okay. And then there's little things, logistical things that come into play. We might be running 10 minutes late. I hope mom's not upset that we're running 10 minutes late. I hope dad's not upset that he's been waiting there. He got there half an hour early because he's so excited to see us, and we're half an hour late. And that might not be anybody's fault, but that can lead to that anxiety-provoking kind of feeling that kids of divorce feel. So I think those particular moments are such an array of emotions, especially for kids, and they definitely feed off the emotions of their parents at that time too.
Bella, did you feel a lot of weight on you? Did you feel responsible at all? Just even though it's out of your control, but did you?
Yeah, it definitely was out of my control, and obviously as a kid it's difficult to understand that. And sometimes it wouldn't necessarily be that my parents actively put the responsibility on me at all. They would have organised the logistics, where we're meeting, what time we're meeting, etc. But sometimes even knowing about those logistics, or being at that age, that 8, 9, 10 years old age, where you know that you're supposed to be there at 4:30 and it's 4, you start to take on that responsibility even though nobody told you to. So, it's about recognizing that sometimes your kids might feel responsible even though you're not trying to make them, but sticking to looking after the logistics as a whole,
Right.
and communicating those logistics. And, hey, I know we're 15 minutes late, but I've already spoken to dad, or I've already spoken to mom that we're going to be, and they're all okay with that. That can help kids.
Craig, what about you? Do you remember those times? I know it's been a few years, but
Yeah, no, absolutely I do, Robert. And I think one of the key things for me was that I knew that going to very much the pickup that I had to be in a really good state of mind. So I would make sure that my self-care was, I'd exercised, I had time to just be calm. And so driving there and to realize that ultimately it's about the kids. That's the hardest thing, and to move away from your difficulties with your kid's parent. And I wanted to always go to those pickups in a really good state of mind. It's interesting, Bella and Luke's mum, she's always running late anyway. So I would try to remember that, this wasn't something that was really negative. It was just how it was. But
yeah,
the biggest point about that was I had to go there calm. I had to be, I'm the parent in this situation. The transition is difficult for everyone, but particularly the kids. When the focus is on the kids, that's all. So you don't want a scene during that period of time, because then you're going to spend a couple of hours, ruminating on that. Where I just wanted to be calm, get there, and whatever happened from there is just be whatever the situation is, just be calm and then go and enjoy our time.
yeah, because a lot of it's on us, the parents, right? And it's if we're anxious, nervous, upset, and we're picking them up, well, you kind of know, you already have the roadmap for how that visit's going to be, or at least
Yeah.
the front end of that visit. And I think about with my kids when they're going from one house to another, if I leave them upset or leave them sad, or I'm anxious or mad or whatever it may be, well, they're going to take that to their moms. And that's the last thing I want them to see is, or that's the last feeling I want them to have is something of anxious, of nervousness, of being, sad by any means. But so you guys gave some pretty good tips. You definitely did. I received some messages, and I can also say I've had this. And Craig, I'm curious about you. One of the hardest things, well, actually, I'm going to read a quote from a guy that sent this to me, was one of the hardest things for him is when his kids are with him and they're going to their moms, they're going to the other parent, and they don't want to leave. They don't want to leave him. They don't want to go back to their moms, and just comforting them and putting on that happy face and letting them know, hey, we're going to be together next weekend, or I'll see you on Wednesday, or whatever it may be. Did you ever experience anything like that, Craig?
Look, I was very fortunate that the kids were really positive, and we had good communication throughout the week as well. So I would always try. So say it was on a Saturday afternoon, more than likely I was going to see the kids, if I went just to see them after school, or, when they were getting the bus, or they were getting picked up, or they had sport training, that I would catch up with them. So I think it really comes back to the fact that I wanted the kids to know I'm 100% okay. I think children want to know that you're okay. If they know you're okay, they will absolutely be okay. So I never wanted them to think, oh, poor dad. Dad's going to sit
Right.
here and it's going to be that. It wasn't that. That I had things to do, and I think that's a tricky one, because you want to say that, and we should be saying that, but then you sort of don't want the kids to think, oh, you're fine without them, in a negative way. It's more that balance.
Right.
I'm okay. I've got stuff to do. I've got work. I've got this planned. I've got things to do. You're always in my heart, but wherever you are, just love your life. That was the message I wanted to get to the kids.
Right.
Just love your life wherever it is, but don't be living it thinking, oh, how's dad? I never wanted that.
No. That is something that I never wanted them to, and I still don't. I don't want them feeling sorry for me. Like, oh, dad's at home depressed because we're not with him. It's the dad's okay. Does dad miss you? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Does dad always, is he happy every moment that he has with you? Yeah, he loves being around you guys. But, dad's also okay. Because I totally agree with what you said. I mean, I agree that if we show them that we're okay, they'll be okay. I think that's a good point. Bella, anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that particular conversation, or that particular type of communication, the I'm okay and I will see you next time, and I'm really excited for that, but go in and enjoy your time with your other parent, and go and enjoy your life generally, and trying to communicate that your life shouldn't be dictated by your parents' feelings. That is absolutely pivotal to your kid feeling like they can just live their life irrespective of their parents' divorce. Because the reality is that your kids see more than you say, and they know how you're feeling, and they are empathetic, because I often think that kids of divorce are quite mature and empathetic in ways that, they see emotions in ways that I believe kids who come from, parents who stay together, they might, see conflict for sure, but I think kids of divorce see a lot of emotion, and so they're very receptive to how you're feeling. And so that communication that I'm going to be okay, of course I'm going to miss you, and finding that balance, like Dad said, is absolutely vital, because you can still acknowledge that your parent will miss you, but you can enjoy your time. And that's so pivotal to transition time, because you might not get a whole heap of time with one parent or the other. And so by the time you have transition day, that's an entire day. And if that's kind of mucked up by these crazy emotions, that's a day wasted in a way. So that quality time that you're trying to spend with your other parent can be taken away by, some really simple miscommunications. But putting everything out there and having, sometimes those mature conversations in a kid-appropriate and age-appropriate way is how your kids are going to know, okay, this isn't my responsibility, and they're going to be okay, so I should live my life.
I think that is so big, Bella, with it's not their responsibility and taking that weight off them. I agree. And you said something about kids from divorced families being more attuned, more aware of the emotions. I could not agree more. I think they really are. I think they really do see they're probably on the lookout. I don't know the psychology behind it, but they probably are on the lookout and making sure that the parent they're with, that the parent, that their parents are okay. Life's not going to change maybe any more than it is, but I do think they are certainly, more attuned, more hyper vigilant of their surroundings, of their parents and their parents' well-being.
Absolutely. And I will say that I think firstborns, especially the older siblings, are often taking that protective stance for any younger siblings. And so they're even more hyper aware of not only their parents, but also their younger siblings and trying to protect them so that they may not have to feel what the older sibling is feeling. And I think that that's a really touchy subject because I get emotional when I talk about my younger brother because I just love him so much. And I always had that perspective of just as long as Luke doesn't have to feel certain things, then I'm happy to kind of take the brunt of it. And that was helped by my parents communicating that you don't have to, it's not your responsibility. And then, we could both enjoy our time with the other parent.
Great. I want to jump to holidays and vacations. I imagine there were times when, whether it was Christmas, whether it was summer vacations, when you guys weren't together. Maybe Craig, when Bella was with her mom, or Bella, maybe you weren't with your dad, or maybe you were on vacation and you were doing something with your mom and it was like, oh my gosh, this would be so much fun to do with dad, or oh my gosh, dad would love to see this place with us, or different. Can you guys think about times like that, and just how did you handle that?
I think, I think, look, it was just general. Every, all the holidays we were pretty lucky because they were sort of split even. But like Christmas is a big one, and that can be quite stressful.
Right.
But we pretty much organised that from the start, where I always knew Christmas was really important to Bella and Luke's mum. And they had a really good Christmas. They had traditions in that Christmas space, and it was the morning, and that's look. I think in those orders that you get, the court orders, it was meant to be that we'd switch every year, but there was no need to, because even though ever since the kids were 1 and 3, I never woke up with them on Christmas morning. Like, you got to take a step back, Robert, and go, yeah, so what? You know what I mean? Like I'm going to see them later. Just because it's not Christmas morning, Christmas afternoon, or even if it's the 26th or the 27th, I really feel it's. I can sit back now and go, it's just a day. Let's not get caught up in that sort of thinking. And so I would see them in the. Look, I was always excited, and I was also a bit stressed on Christmas. In the afternoon that they would be there.
What parent isn't, though?
Yeah, but it's a good day, so you just want to make the most of it. I think if I'm talking about a vacation, there was one I remember quite clearly when Jen, the kids' mum, took them to Disneyland, and that's a big thing for Australian kids. Disney World and like a US trip, and that's a great trip. So I was really excited for them, but it was an extensive period of time. But I remember the kids. They got stuck in LA coming back, and so there was issues with the flight. So it was like they were meant to be back on a date, and then another date, and then another date, and they just weren't on there. But they were worried that I would be worried, where I was like, okay, I understand that. You're trying to get back. Your mum's trying to get you back. It's going to be a few days later. Just enjoy that space and don't get stressed about it, because again, it gets back to, hey, I'm okay. You just be okay and enjoy where you're at. You'd remember that one.
Bella, what about you?
Yeah, I'll jump on that actual specific trip, because Dad's right. Luke and I, we were stuck in LA, and Mum was stressed because we couldn't get on this flight, and Luke and I were like, oh my God, we haven't seen Dad. Dad's going to be upset that we're not back. Mum, we're not supposed to be here. We're supposed to be home. And I think at that time, I recall Mum communicating with Dad that, this was the situation and this is what, we're trying to get back, this and that. And I remember thinking, but worried Dad, won't understand this and that. And I remember Dad called us one night, or Mum called Dad to speak to us, and Dad was like, it's okay. The main thing is you guys are safe and you're going to get home. And I remember, like, as soon as we got home, Mum took us to, Dad, I remember it was like the netball courts at Burning Lane or something. And I just remember running to Dad and being like, I miss you so much. But he was so okay that it was a couple of days later than what it was meant to be. And it's that thing that sometimes kids of divorce make situations up in their head because we catastrophize, and there might be a little remnant of a memory that we have where conflict started. And so then we attribute that to every situation in the future. And sometimes it takes the adults to say, you know what, guys, it's okay.
Yeah.
You're catastrophizing here. That, kids can be like, okay, I can be the kid and I can just focus on getting home. Like, that's not a problem. And sometimes, Dad used the example of Christmas. Christmas is a hard day, I'm sure, for Mum and Dad because they only get us half the day. But for Luke and I, it's the busiest day of the year because we're going between so many different places. It's also a joyful time because we get to see everybody, but
and you get extra gifts, right?
And exactly. And everybody used to say when we were growing up, oh, you're so lucky to have divorced parents because you get twice the amount of gifts. And I used to think, like that's not the pro. There's other things that go on that day as well. But Luke and I, we spend a lot of time together, but we're also grateful that we get to see Mum and Dad on that day. And it's really about making those emotional days. Those pick-up drop-offs on Christmas they're much more emotional than a typical pick-up drop-off, because they're a special day. And, I recall my mum being upset when we have to leave her on Christmas and being empathetic about that. Of course you want to be with your kids all day, every day. And I know Dad was waiting for us, for that afternoon to roll around. But the main thing was to try and focus and try to enjoy where you were at that time and being present, because it's your Christmas too. It's not just about getting places and seeing people. It's about enjoying that special day. So making those holidays about the kid again and really coming back to what is the meaning of this day and how can I remove myself as the adult and just really try to help my kids have a good day.
Yeah. And Craig, you said something earlier about, I can't remember if it was Christmas or something, and maybe you're celebrating it later on in the afternoon or the next day. I mean, that's one thing we've learned to do is I'll tell the boys, whether it's, I don't know, here in the U.S. we have Thanksgiving and different holidays. Yeah. We don't have to, we can celebrate it on the day before, the day after. I mean, Christmas, maybe we celebrate it, a week before when you're with me and or the day after or whatever it may be. Yeah. It may not be that Christmas day, but yeah, it's okay. We can, I think being flexible helps out. And again, it's kind of how we present it. And I think that was a really, really good point. And Bella, you too, talking about the being so attuned or maybe the kids from divorced families being more sensitive to that. I think that is extremely true with that. And I think about when my children are with their moms and they've gone on some good trips with me. They've gone on some, good and fantastic trips with their mom and have seen, I was thinking about when they go to Costa Rica or wherever. I'm so excited that they're going, that they're having that opportunity, and if they tell me, oh, well, today we didn't get to do much because it's raining or it's this and that. I mean, that's a bummer for me because I'm thinking, wow, you're in this, I want them to, yeah, of course I wish I was with them. But if I can't be with them, I'm happy they're having the opportunity to enjoy that. And I just wonder, expressing that, I think, you guys tell me, I think it's probably I'm not patting myself on the back, but I think that's as parents, what we have to do. Do you all agree?
Yeah, absolutely, Robert. I think that, the underlying philosophy here for the dads is really that discipline, the self-discipline to say, look, we all say we love our kids and we got to really love them. And look, I speak a lot to divorced dads and some of the situations are incredibly difficult. So I'm absolutely
Yeah.
empathetic to this. They weren't. I was in a fortunate situation in some ways that I knew Bella and Luke's mum adored them and would
Right.
always very much try and do the best for them. So I was fortunate. And I also had regular access to the kids. So I get that not all the dads listening to this have exactly the same. But whatever situation we're in, we have to work very hard to be disciplined and to understand what we can control, what we can't control. And it's not always going to be easy. Okay, it's not because but it's how I look at it is my kid's life was different to my growing up, but I used to always say to them, remember, Belle, I used to say, be proud of your life. Okay, be proud that yeah, it's not to hide from. Your parents are not together. That's okay. So it's different. It's different for a lot of us dads that it might be different from what we view, but that's okay. Let's not put the life in a box. And once I started to really understand that this is just different to maybe my friends' kids and that sort of stuff, but it can still be great. Just because it's different doesn't mean it has to be negative. It can be still wonderful. And it's just for us to be really disciplined in our understanding. And I used to say to myself, you love your kids. Okay, love them how they need to be loved. And look, it wasn't always, I didn't always get it right, but I kept trying to think that. Because I think sometimes I'm one of the most competitive people in the world, Rob, and sometimes when I felt like it was getting into a competition, like adding up, oh, how many hours,
Yes.
like this sort of thing, or
Right.
that's not fair. You've got this amount of access. I've got that. As soon as you go there, that's a misery
You
waiting to happen. So
yes, you have to stop. I was talking to somebody the other day about that. Like as soon as you find yourself being competitive, or whether it's with gifts or time, that is a warning right there to back off, and you need to reassess where you're coming from. And that's not a healthy place for you, and definitely not for the kids. And Bella, you talked about it last time. You guys can see right through it.
Oh god, yeah. And that's the thing, like it's hard because you can see right through it to the extent that you know where it's coming from, which is
Yeah.
actually a place of good. Because your parent just wants to be the best thing for you.
Yeah.
And, they can recognize, and dad had these conversations, and mum also had these conversations, that, you long for what you think is the norm and what you
Right.
think is what you would wish for. And for me, in that case, was if I were on a family holiday or if we were in Disney World or something and I saw a family of four, I used to get upset and think, I wish that was us. I miss my dad. I wish he was here. And sometimes it's not about telling your kid, oh, but we shouldn't be together because we're so horrible and it's horrible. Like, don't even think like that. Sometimes it's just about listening to them. And then
Yeah.
down the track, reminding them that, hey, I get it. But this is your life and you should be proud of it. And, this is our family. And, not taking away the fact that your parents will always be your parents. And in
Yes.
my eyes, we will always be a family because that's just how it is. It just might not be the conventional, the way that I grew up being told a family is X. Like, families look so different nowadays. And, my parents really didn't try, well, I was grateful when they did try to shut me down that I wanted or missed something that I didn't have, but rather turned it into a positive as opposed to reminding me about the negatives as to why that doesn't exist. So reminding me that this is your life and you should be proud of it, and this is how you can be, and this is how, I can help you make it feel better. And, keeping that line of communication open is just so important, and not shutting down, and reminding them about all the horrible things about
Right.
their current relationship.
Bella, I'm gonna ask this from you, but I think about there's days when sometimes I just miss my kids extra. Like I don't, who knows why? Maybe the moon's in a different position. I don't know. It's just might wake up one Tuesday and it's like, gosh, I just really miss those boys a little extra. As a kid, are there days like that where maybe you miss maybe you missed your dad a little extra that day, or your mom for no reason? And then How did you get through it? What do you do? What advice do you give?
Oh my gosh, yes. Like, I recall waking up in the middle of the night often and being like, is that okay? Like, what's he doing? Like, is he going to be okay? And oh my God, I miss him so much. And then I get upset, and then my mum would comfort me, and it would be, it's hard. It's hard to think about those times. And I'm sure it's hard for dad to like hear that, and vice versa. I'd miss mum so much. And I remember having this one moment where I forgot what my mum looked like. I was like, what? Like, I had seen her the day before, and I just freaked out that, oh, I can't remember I just miss her, or I miss dad. And that is, you're a kid and you miss them so much. But I think reminding yourself or communicating to your parent that you miss the other parent and getting a response that, I understand.
Yep.
Of course you miss them. That's your other parent. How about we give them a call?
Yeah.
And that can make a big difference in comparison to a response of, why would you miss them? Like, you saw them yesterday. Or why would you miss them? Well, why are you talking about missing them? I only get you for a couple of days. Why,
You'll see them 3 days from now, something like that.
You'll see them 3 days from now, and 3 days can be a lifetime away for a little kid. So a response of, I get that. Of course you do. Even if you saw them the hour before, how about we give them a call and make sure they're doing okay and see what they're up to? Would that make you feel better? And sometimes, it would. Or sometimes it'd be in the middle of the night, mum would be like, as soon as we wake up, we'll give dad a call. Or it might have been the next day that we were transitioning. And so it just depends on the context. But it's really, really important that parents meet that, expression, or if a kid is brave enough to say, I miss my other parent, even though they know their other parent might not, want to hear that response is a positive one and tries to be one that's best for the kid. And often that can be communicating with the other parent to just check.
Yeah, and where you felt safe to tell that parent. I mean, you felt safe to tell that the parents you're with that, hey, I miss mom a little extra, or I miss dad a little extra. Can I call them? I'm worried about them, or I just want to hear them. And I think that feeling safe and that parent allowing that as well. I think too many times we hear where parents are denying access, or like we said, oh, you'll see them in 3 days from now, or why do you need to do that? They're fine. Don't worry about it. I hear that a lot from different ones, and it breaks my heart. I mean, put yourself in your kids' shoes, and don't think about yourself, and think about them. I mean, that's their little heart that's breaking, or that misses the other parent.
That's it. And sometimes your kid won't come and communicate the answer.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you're going to do the adulting. Your kid might come to you and say, I miss dad, or I miss mom. And it's not up to the kid to say, so can I call them? It's up to you to come up with the solution.
Yes.
Because that kid might be 6 years old or 7 years old, and they don't know how to not miss, or they don't know how to fix that. So it's really important that you're the adult in that situation, and you come up with the mature decision, irrespective of your conflict with your co-parent, and do what's best for your kid.
That's it right there. Craig, anything you want to add with that?
Yeah, that was exactly right. I think, there was times, Robert, where you just wake up and go, holy, this is, it's hard to get up today because I just miss these guys so very, very much. But I think it always gets back to having, I'm really big on trying to have routines, and, having that morning routine and journaling. And I was saying this to a dad the other day that hasn't been able to see his kids for a long period of time. And I said, well, just journal, write them a letter, write in that journal what you're thinking. Because, one day they'll be adults and they'll know, and they'll see all this time. But there was some periods of time that was really, really difficult. I think one of the points is, and this is really hard, you mightn't love your ex-partner. Most of the times you don't, of course you probably don't, but your kids will. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Your kids, when you accept the fact that the kids love their parents very much equally, and it's not that competition, that when you accept that they love and adore their mother, and they worship their mother as much as you hope they love you, then life becomes a lot easier. Because then you think, okay, well, this kid they're missing their mum. Just, every day let's just say, just ring your mum when you
Yeah.
want to. I think it's also easy, as and I would have done this because we can be very solution focused, where sometimes true empathy is not always putting a silver lining around a dark cloud. It's actually
Right.
sometimes they just need to be heard, and just to be there and hear them out. And I think that's important. If you can create that environment where they can just speak without judgment, and you're not straight away going, yeah, but as soon as you go, yeah, but you'll see them in a couple of days. Yeah, but no, sometimes, yeah, I get that. That sucks. And, what do you think? And if they can be heard, it's really important from a really young age, 3, 4, 5. Let's really have that relationship with our kids where we accept that they love both parents. That's important.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody the other day, and he's going to be on the show. He was talking about parent alienation, and he said, one of the things that he teaches is if let's say there's two kids, so you have the parent, there's one circle, another kid, there's another circle, second kid, there's another circle, and it's really okay. You've got to look at yourself, but you also have to look at each child individually, how they are, and try to put yourself in their circle or their bubble, and try to come from it from their point, and and what they're going through. And Bella, you said it too. It's adulting. It's being an adult, and having empathy as well. And I think for the parents, for us, I think a big part of it is letting them feel safe, where they can have that feeling, where the kids have the feeling of being able to express, Craig, whether it's to you, Bella, being able to come to you and say, Dad, I really miss Mom. Can I, go shopping with her for an hour this afternoon, or whatever it may be, something like that. And, or just call her, it's, I don't mind it. I mean, you talk about it hurting, maybe it hurts the other parent, Bella. I think in some ways you've got to realize, like, hey, I mean, yeah, they've got another parent, and putting yourself in their shoes, like, yeah, of course they're going to miss their parent.
Yeah. And
I
I think,
go ahead, Bella.
sorry, just on that point, I think I can't speak from the adult perspective. I can't speak from a co-parenting perspective. But from a kid's perspective, I think it would be very beneficial for mums and dads to see their ex as one person, but their co-parent as another.
Good.
And their co-parent is who their kids adore and love, like Dad said.
Yeah.
And that's the relationship that they have to foster for their kids. Not their relationship with their ex. No one's asking you to be best friends with your ex-wife or your ex-husband. It's not about that. It's about being a co-parent for your kids and having respect for that co-parent, because like I say, having respect for your co-parent is having respect for your kid. And it's not about your conflict. It's not about the relationship that you had. It's about your kids, and it's about the relationship that you have going forward for your kids. Nothing to do with you, but just for your kids, if that's any motivation.
No, that is absolutely wonderful. Okay, so to kind of wrap it up, I want to ask you guys individually, what was most important to each of you about your relationship? What did you want to get out of it? Who wants to go first? She's putting it on you, Dad. What was most important?
I mean, since the moment my Bella was born, she's just brought me joy. And from that moment of joy that you have when they're born, you just want to foster that and be the best parent you can be, so that they can then go and make the world a better place. That's our job as a parent. It wasn't as much I always wanted to be there. I always took the notion, like Bella's just got married, and so now I'm sort of strong with her about her husband comes first. I will work around you. You're busy. I will make the time
Right.
to be there for you. I'll come to you rather than you thinking you have to manage this. That's because my daughter has a huge heart, and so she wants to look after
You can
everyone.
tell. Yes.
Yeah. So where
Yes.
I'm a bit like, even to this day, Dad's okay. I will come to you. It's about you being okay. and now you have a life where you are developing your family. So I think I wanted to have a lifelong relationship with my daughter, and then grow with her over times. And like there's a lot of dads out there. You have this princess of a daughter, and then about fourth grade, or you're walking them to school and you're holding their hand, and they don't want to hold your hand anymore as they get closer to school. And so that's a transition, and then, they grow their independence, and there's transition phases. And I remember people were so concerned for me, or for Bella maybe, thinking, wow, if she ever gets a boyfriend, how am I ever going to cope? And so that's a transition phase. Very lucky, my son-in-law is fantastic, but I wanted just to have that lifelong relationship. One of the best pieces of advice I got very early on, Robert, was someone said to me, kids are only kids for a very short time. And
So true.
those words were so important, because if we stuff it up by fighting over this and fighting over that, before you know it, these kids are 15, 16, 17, 18, and they're adults for a long period of time. So
Yeah.
sometimes you've got to take the higher ground in all difficult situations, because, yeah, my focus was always to have a lifelong relationship with Bella. And that's what I have. Like, she's not living at home now, she's married, but after this, she'll come and have brunch with us. And so it's just having that lifelong relationship. That wouldn't have happened if I hadn't, or we hadn't, and all worked on it, on keeping that during those formative years. So I think that was always my goal, to have it. And like I said, having that now, as far as my kids go, as an adult looking back and where I am now, well, not as an adult, as a fathering an adult, it's a nice place to be.
Such wise words. Bella, top that.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The reality is that dad did the adulting in that area,
Yeah.
and he had those conversations when we were young. And I said this in the last episode, I think. I recall we were having coffee one day. I think I was maybe
Yep.
like 10, and Dad said, Belle, we will always do this, but it might just look a bit different one day. But this is what I envision for our relationship. And that to me was, my dad's always going to be in my life. My dad wants to be in my life, and he's willing to go through the different transformative phases with me to make sure that this still looks the same, even though the world might change around us. And that for me was just so indicative of the relationship I wanted with my dad. The main point being that he was in my life, that we had that good relationship, but it wasn't built on, just the fact that he's my dad, just the fact that, I loved and adored him as a kid, but now, we've just grown up and he's my dad and that's it. No, I've got a relationship with my dad where I know my dad. I know all his greatness and all his faults, and I still choose to have that relationship with him because we've both worked at it. And, I think that it'd be remiss of me not to say that it's also a bit of a co-parenting journey to help your kid want that. My mum and dad never, always got along, but at the end of the day, your parents, both my parents, were adamant that I needed a relationship with both of them for me to be the best person that I could be. And maybe sometimes that didn't look very linear, and some of the things didn't make sense, but, at the end of the day, I had that in my head that I needed a relationship with both my parents, and especially my dad. And I speak of this, quite frequently, that it's so important for daughters to have that relationship with their dad, and sons in a different way, but to work at it. And it's not easy, and it's not just a one-time conversation. It's an effort-based conversation, and it's an effort throughout your entire life. And I know the trajectory of Dad and I's relationship now, looking back and moving forward, because of the hard work that we've all put in. So yeah, I'm very lucky and I'm very grateful, but I wouldn't have had it any other way.
Wow. I love seeing the two of you, just the love expressed between the two of you. And Bella, I see why you're so wise for your age. I want to ask you this, though. I'm wondering, there's a brother, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is he as wise, or is he? Do we
He's in
keep
the
him
room.
hidden, or no? I'm kidding.
No, he is the smartest of us all.
Yeah, he's next door. He's just in the room. He's just in the room next door, but he's actually very
He's
wise.
wise. He's
I
like,
mean,
I don't want
he's
to be on there.
He's beyond.
That is
Yeah.
wonderful.
yeah.
Hey, so
But he's not like he won't listen. He won't listen to this. So I'm allowed to say that he's the smartest one. But yeah, no, it's incredible. I think that's a whole nother topic, going through something with a
Yeah.
brother and or or a sister, or whatever it might be. But on that tangent of getting married, my brother was actually my man of honor. So
really,
if that's not indicative of he's the closest person to me, I changed the status quo just so my brother could stand next to me on my wedding day, because that's the reality. He's stood by me my entire life. We've been the constant for each other. So I think siblings and divorce are a whole different topic, which I'm willing to talk about another day. But yeah, no.
no, that's beautiful, and it really is. It's beautiful to see. Craig, I'm so happy I got to meet you, because when Bella was on last time, just the beautiful words she spoke about you, and just the real heartfelt words. And Bella and I were talking offline, and she's like, well, Dad might be interested in coming on. And it was like, yeah, I would just love to meet him. I would love to meet this person that raised Bella and who she talks so highly about, and I appreciate you guys being on. It's wonderful just to see the love that you guys share. Is there anything you guys would like to say to one another even right now?
I think Dad and I keep the communication line pretty open.
Yeah, I think we say it regular, but I mean, Vel knows, and yeah, I think the world of her, and yeah, she's like, sometimes I don't know, like people congratulate me on Bella, but Bella's herself. Like Bella is a gift to the world, and it sounds funny saying that because I'm her dad, but I can take that step away and just go, oh my goodness, this kid, or she's not a kid now, she's a woman, but it's from every moment of her life has just brought joy to the world and joy to the people she's around. Like it's actually sometimes we're blessed to know those people, and I'm just lucky enough.
I think you guys, I think both of you are gifts. I really do. I think both of you are.
We're very lucky, and I'm so grateful to have a platform where we can share, everything we've been through and the love that we share and the importance of it for other dads and other kids going through it. I checked off this platform with everybody involved, especially Dad, and Dad literally said to me, well, Belle, this is your life, why not try to help other people go through it? Yeah.
And that's it. And you know what, Bella, when you were on last time, I think you were such an inspiration to so many, dads and parents of, you're not with them, but they can still love you so much, just as you do your dad. It doesn't mean they're not going to love you. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be special in their eyes. And, I think you were just so inspiring to so many fathers and parents, moms are dads. So it's so beautiful to see. And that's why one of the reasons why I really wanted to have you back on here. It definitely is. Hey, so anything that you guys want to promote? Bella, I know you want to promote your blog, website, page, and Craig, feel free as well.
Yeah, so I've got obviously A Kid with Two Homes. We're on Instagram. We've got a blog that's on the, we've got a website, and we just flesh out a lot of the specific topics that are so niche to divorced families, and it's all from the kids' perspective, which I think is a very clear and dominant perspective that is missing in the divorce world. So my attempt is to fill that gap, and if you have any questions about the kids' perspective, I'm here to listen, and I'm very, very willing to have those open conversations. So that's where you can find all my stuff, A Kid with Two Homes.
That's great. And Craig, anything, Instagram, anything? I know you work with divorced dads some. You talk to them, correct?
Yeah, look, I mean, I work with a whole range of different people on their performance and just general in life performance. But my Instagram's just at Dr. Craig Duncan, And then my website is just Dr. Craig Duncan, because I think, yeah, one of the things here, we can sit here now, but I know there's a lot of pain out there, and I would never want to sit
Yeah.
here and say it's easy. There's a lot of pieces in this puzzle. There's a lot of people that had a positive influence or as grandparents. Um, Bella's mum did so has and continues to do so wonderfully well. I think it's really important, if you repartner, who the role they play, that's a difficult but such an important role, that they
Yeah.
accept that the kids are so important to you. I think that's, I'd been very fortunate in that regard. So I think there's a whole lot of things. I don't want to sit here and go, this is easy. This relationship Bella and I have, it just takes work. It really takes work, and some of the dads might be out there and they don't have the opportunity to see their kids, and my heart, I feel for you, but all we can do is stay as strong as we can to work on ourselves, to look after ourselves, look after our own well-being, because the kids will only be kids for a short time. I know it seems like an eternity right now, but those words always rung in my ears, and I remember when I heard them, I thought, shut the hell up, because this is, it's so far away. But it goes quick. It goes
Yeah.
quick. So your decisions that you do now and the work that you do now, and the relationship you try and develop now, your kids know you're there. Just let them somehow know that you love them, that you're there for them, and you're not going anywhere. Because I know it can be so painful.
That is great. And you are correct. It's not easy. It takes a lot of work. It definitely. Guys, you two seriously are beautiful relationship, beautiful people, and I cannot thank you enough. I really Craig, so great to meet you. Bella, great to see you again. And I thank you for being on. I certainly do. So I appreciate it. And thank you all for listening to Dad's podcast. You can find us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, as well as on YouTube and Instagram. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss any episodes. And we'll see you all next time.